Since Donald Trump won re-election, a lot of these moderate or so-called centrist leftists have really changed their tune. They've done a complete 180 from what they used to say and used to believe. Now, of course, the question is this actually genuine? Have they really turned a new leaf? Have they decided to learn from their past mistakes? Or are they simply just trying to broaden their audience? All right, they're trying to gain new listeners by pretending to be something they actually aren't. And the answer to me is, I don't particularly care. As long as they're talking about these issues in a serious fashion to an audience that we on the right don't normally reach, then it can only be a good thing. As long as, of course, they're not lying about our positions. Okay, so what we're going to see today is Charlamagne Tha God appearing on the Young Turks and trying to explain, of course, what went wrong. So let's go ahead and dig into this. But before we get to these clips, please like and comment on this video so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
I think some of the best moments on the Breakfast Club in this election process was when young black men would call in to explain why it was that they had turned on the Democratic Party. And I find their perspective incredibly important and very interesting. And I feel that they were just kind of left behind by the Democratic Party. And, you know, one of the things that would come up over and over again was the immigration issue. And I'm not under the impression at all that these are anti-immigrant individuals, but people living in places like Chicago, for instance, who have seen their resources, which are usually used to nickel and dime the local black community there, essentially be used for the influx of migrants who came in. Federal government, run by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, just kind of neglected the issue and allowed these municipalities to struggle with the issue on their own. And the thing that frustrates me, Charlamagne, is that if you are someone who identifies as on the left, regardless of where you fall on that left-wing spectrum, if you have the audacity to bring up this very real issue, well, I mean, you know how Sonny Hostin will treat you if you bring it up on The View, right? And I think that's an issue. I think that's a problem. The Democrats seem to not ever want to do a little bit of self-reflection to understand, okay, what can we do better the next time around? Instead, I see them kind of lashing out and blaming everyone else for the loss. What do you think?
I agree. I was a victim of it. I mean, they lost that battle a couple of years ago. I remember a couple of years ago when Governor Greg Abbott and Governor Ron DeSantis were putting, you know, the migrants on buses and planes and sending them to so-called sanctuary cities. And then, you know, as soon as they got there, those so-called sanctuary cities, they weren't so sanctimonious, were they? They were literally saying, hey, no, send them back, you can't come. And I said back then, I thought that was evil genius. Yes, it was inhumane and cruel to do that, but on the flip side, you did say you were sanctuary cities, and you did say you wanted these people until you got them. And so then when they realized it was an issue and they were saying don't come, it made the Republicans look like they had it right the whole time. I remember earlier this year, January, I was doing exactly what you just did, Anna. I was talking to my activist friends in Chicago, like my homie Zoe, and she was going to city council meetings every week, complaining about what was happening. And it wasn't even just about the fact that, you know, the migrants were coming over. She was just complaining that they're getting more resources than we are. I had a guy, he works in a parking garage in New York. He saw me one day and he came to me in tears, talking to me about how, you know, there were gangs that were coming over, you know, tearing up his neighborhood. And he was saying he knows it's because the border needs to be closed. This is a black woman I'm talking about and a Spanish man. These people were not MAGA in any way, shape, or form. They were just talking to people about what was going on in their communities. In New York City, Mayor Adams let a bunch of migrants stay in a school overnight and made the kids that went to the school do homeschooling that day because he needed to give the migrants housing for the night. People were calling into the radio station complaining about that. So when I get on the air and I say that, or if I'm in an interview with, I think at the time I was doing an interview with Fox News, and they asked me a simple question: do I think the border is going to play an issue come November? I told them everything I just told y'all. Next thing I know, MSNBC has a headline that says Charlamagne Tha God is spreading MAGA messaging. That is not MAGA messaging, and that is the Democrats dismissing what their base was actually telling them because they already had labeled the issue of the border a Republican MAGA issue, and it wasn't. It was an American issue, and it was people in their party, people in their base, or used to be in their base, complaining about it, and they didn't listen.
So this, of course, is something I've been saying for a very long time now. The Democrat Party has abandoned American citizens, and therefore they have abandoned their base of voters, right? They used to rely on the black vote, the Hispanic vote, etc., by pandering to them in lots of ways I don't necessarily approve with. However, they have all been replaced with the new favorite mascot, which is the illegal immigrant, because, of course, the plan always was to inundate our system, spread illegal immigrants all throughout the country, legalize all of them, and then bam, you have a new voter base that will give you a permanent majority in all elections going forward, all right? But the problem with that is the people are very upset about it. And of course, they turned around and voted for Donald Trump in complete revolt of their own party. So yes, it would have been a better idea for Democrats not to abandon their supposed values they used to have of always saying, hey, we back the common man, we back the worker, we back America still being great, we just want to spend taxes to help people, right? That was a winning message for them. And they have completely abandoned it for a message of freebies and goodies for all. And we're going to take your tax dollars to pay for it, kick you out of schools, kick you out of your community centers, kick you out of your retirement homes, all to make way for the newcomers. And of course, this is what laid a lot of the groundwork for Donald Trump to be elected.
But by opening up dialogue and conversations, I think that it would actually allow the Democratic Party to maybe realize that they've done things in a way that is not appealing to American voters, and they need to recalibrate some of their policies. But again, that would take some humility, that would take some self-awareness. And for some reason, I don't know, the establishment members of the party have really moved away from that. That's more of a comment.
That's why they lost.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's why they lost, Anna. They lost because they put themselves in a bubble, and they put themselves in such a bubble and such an echo chamber that they don't even know what people outside of that bubble and echo chamber are talking about. I was having this conversation with them. I was saying that, man, and I was saying it publicly too. I said, I feel like a lot of the energy and the enthusiasm that exists for the vice president is largely within the party. It's largely within that bubble. I don't necessarily feel it, when I'm out and about. And now that we got more things to compare it to, I remember saying, this don't feel like President Obama in 2008. This feels more like, Hillary Clinton in 2016. I was saying that. And I even heard Gavin Newsom on his podcast. He said the same thing. He said they were out on their governor's tour. And, it was, him and Governor Gretchen Whitmer and Governor Josh Shapiro, Governor Wes Moore. And he said they were going to all of these curated events, right? So they would pull up to these places that, Democrats had, like barbershops that they had already, scoped it out, had the people that they wanted in there, going to these curated rallies. And he was like, that's still our bubble. So they weren't aware of what was going on outside of the bubble. And not knowing what was going on outside of the bubble is what caused them to lose, if you ask me.
So, Charlamagne, again, that's the similarity that your show has with our show, which is that you take callers, we get tens of thousands of comments every single day on YouTube, social media, etc. So we have this umbilical cord to the audience and allows us to see where it's going. And so we're both of us were trying to warn them, hey, your base is slipping away from you. And they thought we were the heretics, that we were we were the ones trying to warn you that you're going in the wrong direction. But this idea that the establishment, Democrats and media has that, no, the other side is just evil, so I guess evil one, is absurd. It's totally absurd. That's because they refuse to listen to their base, to actual voters, etc. And that's because almost everyone else in media is elitist, right? And so they view like talking to a real person or a populace as like some sort of crime against humanity or media, etc. And so it's leading them astray.
Well, I, for one, am very thankful that they live in this leftist bubble where they don't see what America's really going through because, of course, it allows them to be who they are. It revealed their crazy leftist side that America did not like and, of course, voted against. But Cenk Uygur actually brings up a pretty good point there, right? The left doesn't even want to have conversations with people they disagree with, right? Why would you platform someone who thinks differently than us? They're obviously a Nazi, racist, sexist, homophobe, right? Don't give them a platform to speak on. Get rid of them. Cancel them. Ruin their life, ruin their livelihoods. They have no business in proper society with the rest of us high-functioning individuals, okay? And thank goodness they're so out of touch and so elite that they probably won't even learn from any of these mistakes. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay safe out there, people, because they're coming after you.